There are many mysterious deaths around the world that has not been solved to date. Each of these unsolved cases beckons to a paranormal involvement which will always remain half hidden to the naked eye. Either people are too scared to believe in such explanations or they deliberately ignore them, hence they remain a mystery. The world is not as simple as we see it. Sometimes it could be defined as a pool of mysteries. Some places have their own dark secrets. Hotel Cecil, a budget hotel in Los Angeles, located at 640 S Main Street, is one living example of such kind. Although it has a long spooky history, it's fascinating to see how people would still choose this hotel as their destination. According to the article posted on 20th of March 2016 in the site Bizarre Los Angeles, Hotel Cecil was built with 700 rooms in 1924 by William Banks Hanna on the site of a home that had later been converted into a chicken farm or a pet store called the Francier's Exchange. This chicken ranch store stayed in business into the 1920s before the property was sold. The hotel building was constructed with the intention of attracting travelers and businessmen with its unique design of stained glass windows, alabaster statues, and a gleaming marble lobby and its basement. Cecil's main outstanding feature was a large terracotta adorned archway that served as its main entrance. Within 5 years of its opening, United States faced a severe economic downfall. So the area where Cecil Hotel was located lost its glamour and was named as Skid Row as it became the home for thousands of homeless people, leading for its frequent crimes and suicides. Eventually, Cecil became the residence for undesirables and a meeting place for junkies, runaways, and criminals. Could you imagine how many crimes would have taken place in the hotel? How many innocent people would have lost their lives? How many disturbed souls would have been there to earn justice? The answer remains clear. Hotel Cecil became famous for its magnetic attraction to violence and deaths. In year 2011, the Cecil made a futile effort to bury its eerie history by renaming itself as the Stay on Main Hotel and Hostel. Little did its new name help as the Angel of Death couldn't be fooled. Thus the horror continued. The doomed history of Cecil could be discussed under 3 headings: suicides, murders, and mysterious deaths. Let us have a look at the tragic suicides that took place in Cecil starting from year 1927, giving the hotel a nickname, the Suicide. The hotel started to attract deaths as early as 1927. This suicide was reported in Los Angeles Times on 23rd of January. Percy Orman Pierce Cook, 52-year-old, shot himself in a room at Hotel Cecil after writing a note for the press and his wife. He died on the same day at the receiving hospital. According to his note, he has been separated from his own wife and son 6 months prior to his death, and his loneliness has made him to take his own life. Although he has been a wealthy man, his farewell note indicated, "Money cannot buy happiness. I have tried it and I find that it cannot be done. I have lost my wife, my son, and my home, and I am doing the only thing left for me to do." Most of the suicide reports in Cecil does not talk about Percy, as he did not pass away in the hotel premises. The first suicide inside Cecil was reported on 19th of November 1931. A 46-year-old resident of Manhattan Beach, California, named W.K. Norton, was reported missing from his home starting from Saturday 14th of November 1931. He checks in Cecil on the same day he was claimed to be lost under the name James Willis from Chicago. However, his dead body was found from his room by a maid in the hotel. According to the news article Los Angeles Times, published on 19th of November, the cause of his death was consumption of poisonous capsules. Several checks which were made out to Mrs. M.C. Norton were found on his clothing, revealing his real identity. After 1 year in 1932, another death was reported in Cecil. Benjamin Dodich, a man of 25, was reported dead. According to the article published on Los Angeles Times, he was found dead on Saturday of that week, few hours after he registered in the hotel. He has committed suicide by firing a bullet into his right temple. His body was found by a hotel maid. According to Detective Lieutenant Bagot of the Central Homicide Squad, there was no reason to be found for his sudden act. Papers found in his possessions indicated that he had formerly lived at 301 South Boyle Avenue. The next death was reported in 1934. A 53-year-old former Army medical sergeant, Louis D. Borden, has committed suicide by cutting his throat open with a razor. His series of suicide notes explained that the cause of his death was his poor health. The next suicide victim was a 25-year-old lady, Grace E. Morrow, who died on 15th of March 1937 in Georgia Street Receiving Hospital. According to the police report, she has either jumped or fallen from the 9th floor of the building. Her body was crushed and entangled with telephone wires, ripped from poles in her descent. The officer stated that the dead woman's companion, M.W. Madison, 26-year-old, was sleeping at that time and was unable to give a proper explanation. According to the article published in Wilmington Daily Press Journal, Roy Thompson, a 35-year-old marine fireman, takes his life by leaping from his window of his own room, which is situated in the 14th floor of Hotel Cecil, on 10th of January 1938. He has been in the hotel for several weeks before he committed suicide. His body was found by a hotel employee atop a skylight on a next-door building. 28th of May 1939 was fatal for Irving C. Neblett, a 39-year-old sailor on the USS Wright. He was a U.S. Navy radio man in second class. He was found unconscious on the floor of the hotel room by a maid who immediately called the police. However, the man died after the police arrived. The cause of his death was consumption of poison. The police found a sealed letter inside his room addressed to Dr. D.C. Neblett of Staten Island. The police has sent the unopened letter along with the dead body to a mortuary in Long Beach. Neblett was buried in Tennessee. Although Cecil Hotel was regaining its reputation as a magnet of doom, there was no end for its guests. The place was always chosen by the miserable and the unfortunate as their final destination. The 8th suicide attempt was reported in 11th of January 1940. A 45-year-old unmarried Riverside school teacher, Miss Dorothy Seeker, consumed poison to end her life. Although some reports indicated that she was near to death and her aftermath was not recorded, some say that she embraced death on the following day of the same year. 7 years after Seeker's death, suicide struck again. In 1947, 35-year-old Robert Smith jumped out of a window on the Cecil Hotel's 7th floor. The next death occurs in 1954. 55-year-old Helen Gurney also jumped from the 7th floor to her death. Her body had landed atop the hotel marquee above the head of the pedestrians in the busy street. The police was able to identify her through the business cards which were in her purse. Although her cards said that she was Mrs. Helen C. Gurney, about 55, an employee of a San Diego stationery firm, the hotel crew said that she had registered her name as Margaret Brown of Denver when she checked in a week before her death. Shortly after her body was lowered from the marquee, the police was called to the lobby of Philharmonic Auditorium to help a man called Melvin Hinckley, who was acting hysterically. The report said that he lost his sanity after witnessing the woman's death. However, Melvin Hinckley was 28 and was from 227 S Olive Street. He identified himself as a ministry student. Hinckley was taken to General Hospital for further observation. In 1962, 50-year-old Julia Moore jumped out of an 8th floor window, her body landing on a 2nd floor roof in the light well of the building. She was recognized by the police as Julia Franz Moore. The woman had registered in the hotel 3 days prior to her suicide. Her belongings were a purse and a small bag. Los Angeles Times reports a suicide in the same year. A young woman named Mrs. Pauline Otten, of the age of 27, plunged to her death from the ninth floor of Cecil Hotel, killing an elderly man named Gianni of 65 who was strolling on the sidewalk below. According to the newspaper article, Pauline has been discussing marital problems with her husband in Cecil Hotel before her death. Officers have said that she has either fallen or leapt from the window when her husband went away for dinner. The first impression was Pauline and Gianni had leapt together, but they found the man had his hands in his pockets and his shoes still on. If he had fallen 9 stories, the impact would have knocked his shoes off, investigators said. Pauline's husband Otten, a sheet metal worker, said his wife had gone to his place of employment earlier in the day wanting reconciliation. He said he took her to the hotel to discuss about it. All these years, the identity of these dead bodies didn't trigger any question, but according to the Los Angeles newspaper article published in 1975, an unidentified body of a woman who had jumped from the 12th floor of the building was found. Although this woman had registered herself in the hotel as Alison Lowell, the authorities were never able to fully trace back her identity except for the scars they found in both of her wrists. Apart from these strange suicides, there were few terrifying murders reported in Hotel Cecil. The interesting fact about these murders was that the murderer was neither found nor identified. The first murder victim of Cecil Hotel was a newborn baby boy. In the year 1944, Los Angeles Times reports an incident where a mother throws her newborn baby out of the window. The report says this 19-year-old mother, Dorothy Jean Purcell, was unaware of her pregnancy when she went into labor. Although she was with her boyfriend at that night, she had delivered the baby alone, unwilling to wake him up. Thinking the baby was stillborn, she had thrown it out of the window, causing it to land on the adjacent building. Although the lady was charged with murder, she was proved to be mentally confused at the time of the incident and she was acquitted for the reason of insanity. However, the autopsy surgeon Frank R. Webb declared the baby was born alive. The next violent death in Cecil was reported in 1964. A retired telephone operator, Osgood, was found dead in her room by a hotel staff member. Osgood was famous in the area as she loved to feed the pigeons, so she was called by the nickname Pigeon Goldie. After examining her body, the investigators announced that she was raped, stabbed, and beaten to death. A few hours after her murder, authorities arrested 29-year-old Jack Ellinger as he was spotted walking through Pershing Square, where Osgood often fed birds in blood-stained clothes. Although he was arrested, he was found not guilty and got cleared of the charges. To this day, Osgood's murder remains unsolved. The most horrible death which was connected to Cecil was the death of the actress Elizabeth Short, which took place in 1947. She was spotted having a drink at hotel's bar before her murder. This case made her to be known as the Black Dahlia. Her mutilated body was found on a street not far away on the morning of January 15 with her mouth carved ear to ear and her body cut in two. All of these reported murders prove that there's something weird and evil about this hotel. Behind all these shocking murders, there should be someone or something responsible. But sadly, neither the police nor the investigators have found sufficient evidence to track down the criminals behind them, nor were they able to explain the real cause of them to face such a violent death. So the question arises, was it something to do with the Cecil itself? Was there an invisible power that brought death to these men? Apart from these questions, we should not forget that Hotel Cecil was once a shelter for 2 notorious serial killers. Richard Ramirez, who was known as the Night Stalker in 1980s, chose Cecil as his residence. He created a period of terror as he broke into the houses and brutally murdered women. It is said that he used to toss his blood-stained clothing to the hotel dumpster. He spent few decades in prison and died there in year 2013. In 1991, Cecil became a resting place for an Austrian serial killer and a journalist, John Jack Unterweger. He was assigned to write an article about prostitution in America. Although Unterweger was first convicted of murder in his home country of Austria in 1974, he was released after 15 years as he was believed to be reformed. Unfortunately, he soon resumed his old habits, murdering 3 sex workers in Los Angeles. He was arrested in 1992, charged of murder, and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. On the same night of his sentence, he hung himself in his cell. Nobody could deny the fact that for the past few decades, Cecil has attracted a number of negative energies. Apart from these suicides and murders, 3 more mysterious deaths were reported in Hotel Cecil. The cause of their deaths are still a mystery. The first unsolved mysterious death of Cecil was of an unrecognized person. His dead body was found in 1992 in the alley behind Cecil. The dead body was of a 22 to 23-year-old male adult. His death remained a mystery as the authorities were unable to say if it was a suicide or murder, as the body was fallen from the hotel's 15th floor. According to the police reports, he was 5 feet 9 inches tall and weighed around 185 pounds. He was wearing blue sweatpants and a black sweatshirt over a grey t-shirt at the time of his death. The next mysterious death in Hotel Cecil was of Eliza Lamb, a 21-year-old Canadian college student with bipolar disorder. She checks into Cecil on 28th of January 2013. She was to leave the hotel on 31st of January. But suddenly she went missing and her naked body was found after 3 weeks in one of the hotel's 4 tanks on the rooftop. This case transfixed the public as her death proved to be a mystery. Although her death reports indicated the cause of her death was accidental drowning, it was doubtful in the first place as it was impossible for her to access the tank areas unnoticed. Most importantly, it was impossible for her to get into those tanks and close the lid by herself. Next, the elevator surveillance video recorded at the hotel showed Lamb behaving in an unnatural way before she went missing. Hotel Cecil never stopped welcoming guests even after Eliza's dead body was found. They received the guests, announcing them to use the water at their own risk. The most recent suicide in Cecil Hotel occurred on 2015 when a 28-year-old unidentified man was found dead in front of the building. Some presumed he too fell to his death. However, there were no official cause of his death. As a result of this dark history, Hotel Cecil possesses a reputation of being haunted. It is a well-known fact that many guests have encountered odd sightings and dark figures in their rooms. One local resident, Costin Aldred, has been able to capture a spectre hanging outside the 4th floor window of the hotel. The photo went viral and many linked the paranormal phenomenon to the many suicides that have occurred during the hotel's operation. All these bizarre deaths lead us to one question. What would have been the reason for all these innocent victims to be attracted to this hotel? Why would all of them have chosen Cecil out of all these hotels to end their lives? Could it be a coincidence? Or were they forced or frightened by something evil to take their lives? Thus we could say that Hotel Cecil is definitely a cursed and a haunted place that attracts and immolates the unfortunate. However, these disturbed incidents never stopped Cecil from working to regain its reputation. In 2007, a portion of the hotel was refurbished after new owners took over. In year 2011, when the Cecil Hotel rebranded as Stay on Main, it was complete with a new website. Its old website, thececilhotel.com, expired at the end of 2013. In year 2014, The hotel was sold to New York City hotelier Richard Bond and another New York-based firm, Simon Barron Development. Matt Barron, president of Simon Barron, said that he would do his best to preserve the architecturally or historically significant components, such as the hotel's grand lobby. Apart from renovating rooms, the developer also plans to build a rooftop pool, gym, and a lounge. This construction is projected to be completed by year 2019. In year 2017, the Los Angeles City Council voted to deem the Cecil a historic cultural monument because of its significant architectural work, and it is a representative of an early 20th century American hotel. With all these renovations and improvements, Hotel Cecil or Hotel Stay on Main still remains there proudly waiting for her next guest. Anybody who decides to stay there will have to stay at their own risk.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe us for more videos. And don't forget to click on the bell icon to get updated on our new videos.